Huomenta. Good morning, everybody. I will be here for just a few minutes to say hi to everybody and good morning. So today is the certification prep. And so what I wanted to say before we get going is I want to thank everybody. You have been doing a lot since the beginning of this year, and participating in all the immersion days, doing a lot of trainings. If you don't yet have the actual exam code, so the certification exam code, you will get that from our side. So Jura, Jose, me, there's still the, Jura, do you remember, is the certification request link still open, or is that Jose's?
Yes, I can check with Jose.
Yeah, but basically that's the same link that we have been using. If it's not open, we'll open it for you and you will put in your details. So basically our request is that, hey, tell us if you pass or don't, so we can also help you out if you don't for some reason pass. And in order to know that you need a code, we need the request from you from that link. So we'll share that link. So those are the two practical things. And today we actually have new people to introduce you to. So we have Sanjoli and Asmae. So if I let you to introduce yourself, if at any point you need me, please ping me. I might drop off the meeting at some point because I'm doing a fire marshal training today. But let me know in Slack if you need me.
Hello, everyone. My name is Asmae Issaoui, and I am Associate Solutions Architect here at AWS. I joined AWS approximately 6 months ago, and before that, I studied in Aalto University. I majored in complex systems in master's, and my bachelor's was bioinformation technology.
Thanks, Asmae. I'll go next. Hello, everyone. My name is Sanjoli Arora. I'm a solution architect. I joined AWS 6 months ago, almost same like Asmae. Before joining AWS, I was working for CJ for almost 2.5 years. So nice to meet you all. Thanks.
So in today's session, we'll start about preparing for the certificate. We're going to cover the basics of the AWS Certified Solutions Associate certification. We're going to get an overview of it. And we're also going to go through like what kind of questions are being asked in the exam and like from what area specifically. And also we're having approximately 20 sample questions that we're going to go through. I will give you guys like 1 minute to think of the answer, and then we will go through why X answer is the correct answer and why the other answers are incorrect. So firstly, we have, just a second, my screen is, no. Okay, so firstly, we have 4 different certification here at AWS, and they are in 4 different categories. One of them is foundational. From my understanding, a lot of you already have the cloud practitioner one. And then we have the associate one, which includes the solutions architect one. And then we have professional, and then we have specialty one. So they are in 4 different categories. And the difference is basically the technical depth of the exam questions. And so in the associate category, there are 3 certifications, which is the one that we're going to cover, Solutions Architect Associate, which is today's focus. Then we have the Developer Associate one. And then lastly, we have the SysOps Administrator Associate. They are designed for different roles, depending on if you're an architect or a developer, or mainly if you do operation. And the professional category certificates are designed for engineers who use AWS on a daily basis. And for associate one, it says that it kind of that you would have like 1 year of experience solving problems and implementing solutions using the AWS cloud if you achieve that certificate. And I think we should look into the details of the certificate SAA. this certification tests our ability to design secure and robust solutions by using the AWS technologies. On the right hand, you can see the screenshots of the training page. So the certification exam is 130 minutes. It can be taken either virtually or it can be taken live. If you take it virtually, there are multiple choices with a time slot. You can even take it in the middle of the night if you want. But if you do take it virtually, be careful of the internet connection. It cannot shut down at any point. There will be a total of 65 questions. They're either multiple choice or multiple response. So you either response one, or it usually says they're like select two if it's a multiple response question. And this certificate is offered in a few languages, including Japanese and English. To aim for the exam, we should understand like what kind of solutions are available, and then we need to know the capability and characteristics of the solution. After that, we can finally make the architecture decision based on the requirements. So in order to pass, you have to get 720 points from the exam, and the scale of the score is from 100 to 1,000. And 30% of the exam questions are about resilient architecture. 28% are high-performing architecture. 24% is secure applications and architecture, and 18% is going to be about cost-optimized architecture. So this is a pass or fail exam. So even if no one can see how much points except you got at the end, you will either get the certificate or you don't get the certificate. So as long as you get 720 points or more, it's automatically pass. So we offer various contests for you to prepare for the exam. First is the exam review part. Before planning the study path, I do recommend taking a look at the exam guide. It covers the certification details that I just covered in the few slides ago. And then also there are going to be some sample questions and exams provided to make sure that you're able to answer all the questions before you actually book the exam. And then, of course, we have AWS white papers and facts. This is also recommended to cover the white paper and technical documentations for major services. It will help you get a deeper understanding of those services, so you'll be more prepared for the exam. And then lastly, we also offer trainings, and the trainings are free. They're basic study session. And on the other hand, we also do provide training courses that maps to the certification. In case of this specific certification, technical essentials and architecture on AWS are the two corresponding courses that we have. And here are the training courses we offer. They cover a wide variety of topics. And let's say for engineers who'd like to learn more about AWS generally, we recommend architect courses, of course. And for those who want to specialize in certain tech domain, we have different types of training to satisfy their needs. And we also offer different reading materials like book reference and questions for test preparation. So there are websites you can go to kind of get the understanding what you should need to do to prepare for the exam, and if you're also interested in buying the books or reading the extra material. And of course, we have reference materials that that help you learn more about the AWS services, and like the reInvent or AWS Summit Online or AWS Innovative, they're all online, and anyone is capable of checking these links. Now I would like to go through the sample question. And I'm going to give you guys a minute or two to figure out what the answer could be, and then we will cover the answer together. So what you can do is in the chat, you can type, is it A, B, C, D, or whatever it is, and then we'll cover it together. So the first sample question is this. So once you figure out what the answer could be, please message your thought process in the chat. Like it does say select two, so just give me like two options what you think it could be. It's okay even if it's wrong. We're gonna cover this question together. So I'm going to give people 10 more seconds to come up with an answer, and then we'll go through the answer. Okay, so the correct answer is B and E. So once you have this type of questions, you should look for specific keywords that help you kind of think, okay, what the answer could be here. One of the keywords was that the web application instance and the database are running in a single availability AZ. So what we wanted kind of like combination of steps that provide high availability for this architecture. And it told us in the beginning that we have a two-tier application that runs in a public and private subnet, where the Amazon EC2 instance running on the web application are in the public subnet, and the database, of course, are running on the private subnet. So A is, of course, incorrect, because if we create the public and private subnets in the same AZ, it's not really going to give us a higher availability. B was correct. The answer was that create an Amazon EC2 autoscaling group and application load balancer spanning multiple AZs for the application instance. So when it's in a multiple AZ, even if one availability zone fails, we still have that availability because it's in the other AZ. So in C, that was incorrect as well. It said that at the existing web application instance to an autoscaling group behind an application load balancer. This really doesn't help with the availability because we are not really, they're still in a single availability zone, so nothing has changed. So it's incorrect. And D is also incorrect because it says that create a database using an EC2 instance in the public subnet in the new AZ. So this is, if the database was from the beginning in private subnet, that means that there are some there could be some sensitive data in there. So we don't want to put that in public subnet. So that leaves us with only E being the other correct option, which is create a new public and private subnet in the same VPC, each in a new AZ, and create an Amazon RDS multi-AZDB instance in the private subnets. So if you're not 100% sure what the answer could be, you can always kind of like look what it definitely is not. So if we have a single availability zone and nothing changes in that accord, like in the first one, we're gonna create a new public and private subnet in the same AZ. We know for sure that that's not gonna help with us to provide a high availability. Are there any questions regarding this sample question? If there are questions, or if you, once I ask you ask you guys to put the answer in the chat. You can also send it to me directly. That's perfectly fine. I just want you guys to be involved in this and to actually think about this, because it will help you in the exam. Okay, we're gonna go through the next sample question, which is this one. I will give you guys approximately a minute to think of the answer, and please write it in the chat. Okay, so the correct answer is D. So you can use IAM roles to delegate access to user applications or services that don't normally have access to your AWS service. It is always good practice to use IAM roles. It is not a good practice to use IAM credentials, which is the C, for a production-based application. And is it clear for everyone why A and B is obviously here incorrect? I think everyone already guessed the correct answer. So I'm gonna move to the next sample question. I will give you guys 1 more minute to think about the answer, and please write it in the chat. Okay, 15 more seconds, and then I'll show the correct answer. Okay, so the correct answer is D. So AWS Key Management Service, which is D, is a managed service that makes it easy for you to create and control the encryption keys used to encrypt your data. So as long as you know what the service does, then the answer should come easily to you that it is AWS KMS API. Then we're going to go to the next sample question, which is a little bit longer. And I will give you guys a minute to write the correct answer in the chat. Uh, 15 more seconds, and I'll show the answer. So as everybody guessed correctly, the right answer is C. So the NAT gateway is an ideal option to ensure that instances in the private subnet have the ability to download updates from the internet. Option A is incorrect because there may be security reasons for keeping these instances in the private subnet, such as database instances. So like we with the first sample question, we're not gonna move them to the public one if they are already in private. And option B is incorrect. The instances in the private subnet may be running various applications and database instances, so it's not really advised for an EC2 user to download the updates separately and then push them into the required instance, which leaves us with D. Why that is incorrect is because VPC link is not really used to connect to the internet. So once you know what a VPC link is, the answer should be come easy to you. Okay, it's definitely not D because that does not help us to connect to internet. So NAT gateway is the correct answer here. Then we have next sample question. So once you figure out the answer, just send it in the chat again. Ten more seconds, then I'll go through the correct answer. Okay, so the correct answer is D, but I saw that some people said A. This is a little bit tricky question because it depends how the question is worded. At the end, it says, how many subnets must you create within your VPCs to accommodate these requirements? So we know that it must support internet facing and intranet application to over a VPN. So they must be able to leverage at least 3 AZs each for high availability. So the reason why I said this is a little bit tricky question because within a VPC, we're going to have a private subnet and we're going to have a public subnet. So you can easily think, oh, okay, so within one VPC, it's going to be 2, which is A. But because it says VPCs, so it means like in total, how many subnets you're going to need, which is why the correct answer is D, 6. Since we have 3 AZs and within one AZ, we're going to have 2 subnets. So with questions like this, I would advise to read it very carefully because you can easily be tricked to answer incorrectly in there. With the next sample question, I'm going to give you guys another minute and a half, and then we'll go through the correct answer. I'm gonna give you guys 15 more seconds and then I'll go through the correct answer. Okay, so the correct answer is D. So Amazon CloudFront is a service that speeds up distribution of your static and dynamic web content, such as HTML or CSS or JC and image files to your users. So if you are aware of what CloudFront is, if you're familiar with the service, from these options, it should be easy. So option A is incorrect because the latency issue is experienced by people from certain parts of the world only. So even if we increase the EC2 instances or increasing the instance size, it's not really gonna make much difference. And option B is also incorrect because the latency issue experienced by people from certain parts of the world only. So changing the instance type to a higher instance type is not gonna make any changes. And C is also incorrect because we use Route 53 health checks to see whether the instance status is healthy or not. So here the keyword to look for to know what the correct answer is AWS, that users can access across the globe. And if they have latency issues, what is going to help them? So D is the correct answer. Then we have a next sample question. I will give you guys another minute to figure out what the answer could be. Then we'll go through the correct answer together. I will give you guys 15 more seconds. All right, so the correct answer is A. It's AWS Direct Connect and VPN. So the reason why A is correct because in the question it said that we want IPsec connections. So VPN is needed for that. So this was the keyword to look for here. And then it also said high performance network is also required over private lines, which is AWS Direct Connect. So using them together matches with the requirement with the question. So B is incorrect because only with VPN the network performance cannot be guaranteed. C is incorrect because AWS Direct Connect does not use the IPsec protocol that was mentioned in the sample question. And D is incorrect because software VPN is still based on the internet instead of dedicated network, which leaves us with the answer A. And next, we're going to have different types of sample questions. So these are kind of like in different categories. Some of them are about networking, some of them are about something else. So this is a little bit longer. So I'll give you guys 2 minutes to read the question carefully, and then please write the answer in the chat. 15 more seconds, and then I'll show the correct answer. Okay, so the correct answer is actually D. So I'm going to go through each and every answer and explain why they're incorrect. And lastly, I will cover the answer D and explain why that is correct. So the A is incorrect because if an EC2 instance were removed from the target group during scaling process, the EC2 instance would fail or would be at least unhealthy if they were checked. So an application load balancer would stop routing requests to that target and it's just going to choose a new healthy target. So that's not really going to help with this issue that they're having. B is also incorrect because an increase of the instance size likely would increase the speed of processing. But this solution does not really directly ensure that the instances that processor requests are unaffected by scaling actions. So it's incorrect. And C is also incorrect because Amazon EC2 autoscaling Koodaa period help you prevent autoscaling groups from launching or terminating additional instances before the effects of previous activities are apparent. So it would help with that. And lastly, we have D, which was the correct answer. So by default, the elastic load balancing usually waits 300 seconds before the completion of the deregistration process. That can help with in-flight requests to the target to become complete. So if you're going to change the amount of time that the elastic load balancer waits, it's going to fix this issue that we're having here. And then we're going to have a next sample question. Since this question is also super long, I will give you a few minutes to read it through and figure out what the correct answer could be. So I will give you guys 15 more seconds and then I'll go through the correct answer. Okay, so the correct answer is D. So A is incorrect because purchasing dedicated instance to meet the peak demand is what we do not do in cloud computing. We're not gonna purchase dedicated instances to meet the peak demand. And B is also incorrect because it says that we're going to convert the existing SQS standard query to an SQS FIFO query, which increase the visibility timeout, but that's not really what we need here. We don't need the SQS FIFO query in here. And then C is configure the scalable AWS Lambda function as the consumer of the SQS message. That's also not going to help us with the scaling. So D is correct because there is a specific CloudWatch metric that we're going to scale based on that. And that's going to help us with this. This kind of question is usually from the hard end of the certificate exam. So even if you get this type of question wrong, don't get discouraged. It is from the hard end, and there are always going to be a few questions in the exam that some people get wrong. So then we have next sample question. Here I will give you guys a minute and a half to go through the question, and then I'll go through the correct answer with you. Also, if there are any questions regarding these sample questions, please don't hesitate to send me a message. I'll give you 15 more seconds, and I'll show the correct answer. Okay, so the correct answer is D. So the keywords to look for here is highly available and that it's currently in a single availability zone. So A is incorrect because creating a new VPC with 2 new EC2 instances in the same availability zone is not going to help us. It's not going to increase the availability. And replacing the network load balancer with an application load balancer is also not going to help us with the availability. And doing the health checks and config Amazon Route 53 health checks is also not increasing availability. The only thing that does increase it is extending it to across multiple availability zones, which is the D. So now we're also going to go to a little bit different set of questions. And I will give you guys a minute to go through the question, and then we'll go through the correct answer. Fifteen more minutes, then I'll show you the answer. 15 more seconds. So the correct answer is B. In this question, it does require you to remember like what those each throughput optimized or provisioned IOPS or general purpose, how much they actually offer, how much volume they offer. So if you do remember that, then B is correct because it provides up to 64,000 IOPS for each volume. Knowing how much the other ones offer is also gonna make this a little bit easier. So yeah, you also need to remember the provisioned IOPS and how much it offers in order to know the answer to this question. And called SDD, I don't know if you've heard of it, but if you haven't, it's a volume that provides low-cost magnetic storage that defines performance in terms of throughput rather than IOPS. So it's a good fit for large sequential cold data workloads, in case you haven't studied about that yet. But I think rest of them might be quite familiar, but in case they're not, throughput optimized HDD is limited to 500 IOPS for each volume. And then the general one is limited to 16K IOPS for each volume. So it's good to keep these numbers in mind for the exam, just in case, because questions like this might come. And then we have next sample question. I will give you guys a minute and a half, and then we'll go through the correct answer together. Uh, 15 more seconds, then I'll go through the correct answer with you together. Okay, so the correct answer is B. So the keyword to look for here is most cost effectively, and also that we're gonna maintain the records minimum of 5 years. The data is rarely accessed and it must be accessible within 5 hours. So A is incorrect because this solution is not the most cost-effective solution. So Amazon S3 is more cost-effective than Amazon Elastic File System, so we kind of can rule that out. And then C is also incorrect because this solution is not the most cost-effective solution because it requires the use of Amazon EBS in addition to Amazon S3. So we are using 2 services, so we can rule that out. And D is also incorrect because the storage of the data in an S3 bucket provides cost-effective initial location for the data. However, the S3 standard infrequent access is not the most cost-effective storage class to meet the requirements in this scenario. So S3 Glacier storage class is designed for low-cost data archiving. Which leaves out with the correct answer B. The storage of the data is an S3 bucket. It provides cost-effective initial location for the data, and S3 Glacier is the most cost-effective archival storage solution that meets the requirement of, let's say, a 2-hour retrieval time. From my experience, there is always a few questions regarding something related to S3. So I would familiarize myself with the lifecycle policies, the glacier, and everything related to that for the exam. And there are a lot of questions regarding, which option is the most effective, and also if you need to retrieve the data within a couple of minutes versus a couple of hours, there's going to be, you should tailor your answer that way. So I would actually suggest learning these things related to S3. Then we have another sample question. I will give you guys 1.5 minutes, and then we will go through the answer together. Yeah, I'll give you guys 20 seconds and I'll go through the correct answer. So the correct answer is C. The transfer acceleration answer is incorrect because the solution is for speeding up the S3 access, not really uploading these files. And then B is also incorrect because you can really automate copying files from EC to S3 by S3 lifecycle policy. And D is incorrect because the cross-region will not solve the intermittent failure issues. So that leaves us with one correct answer, which is C, where the multi-part upload is suitable for uploading big files on the network with intermittent failure issues. And we will have one last question about the S3. And then this is the last question regarding this. I'll give you guys 1.5 minutes to go through the question and answer. Ten more seconds, then I'll show the correct answer. So the correct answer is A. By configuring the S3 versions, we will enable to access older versions of the document. And B here is incorrect because the multi-factor authentication on delete will protect the file to be accidentally deleted. So it's not going to help us in this case. And C is also incorrect because cross-region replication is not the most efficient method to refer to older versions. And also D is incorrect because S3 lifecycle policy is not the most efficient method to also refer to older versions. So as you can see, even in the sample questions, we had a lot of questions regarding S3. So there are going to be questions regarding S3 in the exam. So I would study everything related to S3 for the exam very carefully. We're going to go through last set of questions as long as I find them. So I will give you guys a minute to read the question and to answer the question. Okay, so 10 more seconds and I'll show the correct answer. So the correct answer is A, enabling multi-AZ deployment. So multi-AZ deployment, it provides enhanced availability and durability for the database instances. I saw that maybe some of you thought creating a read replica could be correct, and I do want to explain the difference between these two. So creating a read replica is incorrect because this only provides enhanced performance for read-heavy databases workloads. Although you can promote the read replica, its asynchronous replication might not provide you with the latest version of your database, even if you do promote it. So that's why in this specific instance, A is correct answer, enable multi-AZ deployment. B is incorrect as well, because making a snapshot of the database allows you to have a backup of your database, but does not provide immediate availability in case the availability zone failures. So it's incorrect. And also C is incorrect because increasing the database instance size is not a solution for this problem at all. We want it to be highly available. So even if the instance size is bigger, if the availability zone fails, it's not really going to help in that case. So I will give you guys a minute and a half, and then we will go through the correct answer. Okay, I'll show you the answer in 5 seconds. So the correct answer is C. So here the keywords is DynamoDB. So we can already rule out B and D. And other keyword is that response times goes from milliseconds to microseconds, which DynamoDB Accelerator can do. So DynamoDB Accelerator is a fully managed, highly available in-memory cache that can reduce Amazon DynamoDB response times from milliseconds to microseconds. The A is incorrect because DynamoDB autoscaling is only used to automate capacity management for your tables and global secondary indexes. And answer B is also incorrect because AWS Device Farm is an app testing service that lets you test and interact with your Android, iOS, and web apps on many devices at once. So it has nothing to do with this question. And then Amazon Elasticache is also incorrect because although you may use Elasticache as your database cache, it's not going to reduce the DynamoDB response time from milliseconds to microseconds, which leaves us with only DynamoDB accelerator. So I will give you guys a minute and a half to read through the question, and then we will go through the answer together. Uh, 15 more seconds, then I'll show the correct answer. So the correct answer is elastic file system. So here were a few keywords. One of them was a fleet of auto-scaled on-demand EC2 instances, and the other keyword is that high throughput file system. So Amazon Elastic File System, it provides simple, scalable elastic file storage for use with AWS cloud services and on-premise resources. So when mounted on Amazon EC2 instances, an Amazon Elastic File System provides a standard file system in interface and file system access semantics, allowing you to integrate Amazon EFS with your existing applications and tools. So using Elasticache is here incorrect because this is in-memory data store that provides the performance of your application, which is not what you need since it is not a file storage here. And EBS volume can be attached to one EC2 instance at a time. So that's why the B is also incorrect because it's a fleet of EC2 instances. And also the type of storage needed here is a file storage, which kind of already rules out S3 because it's not the best service to use because it's mainly used for object storage. So this leaves us only with the EFS. So we have two more questions and then I'll stop this presentation. I will give you guys a minute and a half to read through the question and write the answer in the chat. Okay, I'll show you the answer now, and looks like everybody got it correct. So the keywords were to store huge amounts of data and perform quick and flexible queries on it. And the correct answer for this is Amazon Redshift. So knowing the differences between these databases is, Amazon Redshift is a data warehouse, is easily gonna give you the correct answer because you can kind of rule out what it definitely cannot be. And this is going to be a last question. So I'll give you 15 more seconds. Okay, so the correct answer is D. So the keywords here to look for are that it ensures the company wants to ensure that the number of empty responses from polling workers are kept to minimum. So the correct answer is D, because when the receive message wait time seconds property of a queue is set to a value greater than 0, the long polling is in effect in that case. And the long polling reduces the number of empty responses by allowing Amazon SQS to wait until a message is available before sending a response to a receive message request. All right, so that was last set of questions. Is there a question regarding anything that I have presented here today?
There was a question that did you show how to turn on MFA. I think that was not covered here in this instruction today. But we can have another session, for example, the Mimmit Slack, where we can show how to enable it. And that's a very good comment, because you should always enable the MFA on your account. And also you shouldn't use the root account, so meaning the account with your email address, to actually run any applications or any operations within your account. You should always create a separate IAM user for that. Cool. Any other questions regarding Asmae's presentation or certification? I think it was great example of series of questions around different topics that you will, or you can expect in the actual exam. So many of those questions, there's quite a lot of text, so you need to read and understand the context, and then try to find those specific keywords and try to figure out that what is the actual question after. So, for example, are you looking for the most cost-efficient solution, or most secure solution? So look for those keywords in the text.
In chat, there is a question regarding how many questions will there be approximately, and how long should it take? So there is 65 questions, and you have 130 minutes time to finish it.
Yes, I think it's 140 minutes for the exam. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought that. Okay.
And if I remember correctly, was it so that if you can apply for another 30 minutes if it's not your native language, the test? So if you're taking it in English, was it that so? Do you folks remember?
Yeah, there is also that. If you have to apply for that beforehand, so they can accommodate those special requirements for you.
Yes, so please use that option so you can get more time to go through the test. Yeah, but as you can see, it will take time. So there's a few resources that Asmae showed. Take a couple of those exams or example exams before the certification test or the exam. So you can see that what are the areas that you need to, prepare for or rehearse, because at least when I was following, many of you got the correct answer already today. So I'm confident that we will have many certificate Mimmit after the exams, and if you don't make it in the first time, don't worry. It's hard exam even for the people working on the industry. So the next time will be easier because you know how the questions are or what type of questions in the actual exam is, and you know how to pace your time during the exam. So don't get stuck on single questions. If it seems that it's hard, just move on. You can, before you submit the exam, you can actually go back for the question. So you can mark that, hey, I want to return for this question later on. But just look the time that you don't run out of time before you have gone through all the questions. Any other? Yeah.
Sorry, Jura, I just actually looked. It is 130 minutes in the Amazon's official web page. So if you want to apply for the additional 30 minutes, then it's going to be 160 minutes.
Yeah. So please remember to do that so you get the extra 30 minutes. If I fail the exam, yeah. So that it's always a fee per exam. So let's see what is the amount of the vouchers that we can hand. But yes, it's the fee per exam. So if you fail, you need to again pay for the next exam. Any other good questions? Okay, then I will give you 30 minutes back of your time, and yeah, just also want to thank you all for this, participating this winter and spring on the immersion days. And I know it's hard during the week to get the 4-hour time to actually participate, but the participant amount has been very positive, and I really hope, I know that many of or most of you will achieve the certification, and please let us know how we can support you to achieve it, and let's plan again something for the future, and let's keep these workshops and webinars running, and also let's see if we could come up again with a survey for you about topics that you might interesting, so we can also have a sessions around different domains like machine learning, which are not covered in the actual associate certification, but it might be useful for you in your actual, when you are in the working in the industry and in your business.
Just one thing, one last thing, just want to mention. So if you book your exam between 15th March to 31st of May, you will be eligible for a free exam retake. So
what was that timeline?
It's till 31st of May 2023.
Okay, so yeah, that's very good point. So please book your exam before that. So if you fail the first one, you can get free retake on that. Retake on the test. So yes, thanks, Sanjoli, very good pick up. And we will prioritize the ones who participated this track this winter and spring, but of course those who participated last year or have been doing your own pace these exams, we will of course try to accommodate also you, so we can get many as possible Mimmit to certificate. And yes, so once you have done the test, you failed or passed, please there's another again survey that I request you to fill, so we can track that how many of you actually made the certification, so we can track that figure also.
I also want to mention during the exam, if you're going to do it virtually, you're going to have to take a picture of your entire room, your workspace. It's not allowed to be cluttered or anything. And make sure that you do have a good internet connection, because if it cuts off, then it's kind of over.
Yes, I think these vouchers can be used on location centers. So I think we have few here. Was it in Tampere and Helsinki? We have the centers, or was it so that they are only in Helsinki and Espoo nowadays?
I'm not sure, but to answer the question, yeah, they can be.
Yes, you can. Yes, when you book them, you can use vouchers. Okay, if there's no more questions. Let's take 20 minutes back. Good luck with exams, and yeah, let's stay active on Mimmit Slack. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Have a lovely week. Bye bye.